Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a Bat Châtillon 15555. It's a tier 9 French SPG. It's located on the north spawn of Ghost Town and it's under the command of ProvoBob. Now you can tell where ProvoBob comes from by a certain animal marked on the side of his vehicle. Yep, that's a kangaroo. And he's an Aussie. Okay, well, battle started. He's got a 155mm howitzer mounted in a swivel turret, which is capable of going all 360 degrees but very slowly. It does 750 output and penetrates up to 45mm of armor with an 8m burst radius. And well, he's actually now swiveling his turret to face the enemy. At least I think he is. Or has he stopped to type something? I'm not quite sure what Bob's up to here. No, he's definitely stopped for some reason. I presume he's facing this way so that he can dive into the dip if the enemy is sighted. But yep, there's the first enemy and he's in the town and Bob's still not making an attempt to aim at the enemy. Oh, now he is. Okay, well, the first enemy he's going to aim at is an LT-432, and the reason there's no reticule showing is that turret is still turning towards that point and has now reached it. So he's now dialing in on that quarter, but the LT-432 suddenly went missing, unspotted, and instead he's decided to fire at a T-54, so the turret has to turn all the way back again, and just as it does, the T-54 goes out of sight behind the building, which means that was all wasted. But the LT-432 on the west side of the map still hasn't come back, so maybe there'll be something over this side of the map that he can hit. An IS-3 came into sight briefly. In fact, he's getting a request to fire on that IS-3, but he's going to relocate instead. It's a tier 10 game. It's got tier 8 tanks in it, and you can see just past one of his teammates in a Bat Châtillon 155-58. And that guy just fired at a charioteer who appears to be on his side. Looks like he just got taken out by the FV-4202. Who also suddenly got killed by a Death Star. So far the score is even, one on each side. And ProvoBob's going up to the far, well, east side of the map. From here he's got a rock between him and the enemy, but he might still be in sight of enemy light tanks that are located in those bushes just to the south of him. Over in the town he's got an IS-3 hiding behind a building. He's dialed in on the position. He loses sight of the target, but he definitely hit him because there was no explosion at all. And you can see the building just next door to the IS-3 shook as the shell hit, so there's good splash effects there. And somebody said to me the other day that what we ought to have is the ability to knock down some of these buildings. The ones that are currently un-knockdownable, undemolishable, because, oh, he has been spotted, and it was an enemy medium, so he's going to have to move now. Otherwise the enemy Arty will have him for breakfast. He backed up just a little to make it appear that he was actually headed west, but he's moved over to the east again, and he's settling in a position nearer to this rock. That'll give him some protection. Yes, somebody was saying we ought to have the ability to knock down buildings, and if we hit them with enough force, enough times, that they should get knocked down. And I totally agree with them. After all, there are some destructible buildings in the game, and the indestructible ones should be destructible as well if you hit them with enough rounds. Okay, the first round would tell Wargaming that that building had been struck, and the second round would demolish it, so it would convert it from one type of building to another. He's aimed at the 705. Oh, he gets him! The second round killed the 705, and that's an important kill. The guy had taken some damage, and you can tell from the way that the reticule's bouncing around is that ProvoBob is moving whilst he's still in battle assistant. Yes, he's pressing his W key or his S key to move backwards. And he fires around in at the pattern and gets 194 hit points from that shot. Over on the far side of the battlefield, a long distance away, this is a 3-second flight for the shell. It's the T-44 hiding in the bushes, but he is actually remarkably stationary or still. He's not moving very far, and he's about to fire around in there to find out if he's still there. Well, it exploded, so obviously he'd moved. He's got a 24-second reload on this 155mm howitzer, but he's got plenty of rounds to keep firing all battle long. That's one of the big drawbacks of some of the higher tier Arty, or in fact from tier 6 upwards, that you don't get that many rounds of ammunition. In fact, the Hummel only carries 18 rounds, which is ridiculous because the Hummels were equipped with vehicles which carried the ammunition for them. They didn't carry many rounds of ammunition in the actual Hummel itself, but they did carry a lot of rounds of ammunition in the vehicles that accompanied them, which were basically the same vehicle but without the guns. So they had loads of space for shells. In fact, actually they used shells and 2-part ammunition, so they had a little cartridge case which they put the powder into in little silk bags, and depending on how far the shell had to go, you put in a certain number of silk bags, and that would increase or decrease the distance that the shell would travel. 2-part ammunition was actually not an exclusive German thing during the war. In fact, quite a few nations used 2-part ammunition because it does actually make sense. If you've got a really big and heavy shell, you don't want to be carrying around large numbers of cartridge cases attached to those shells. What you ideally want to do is put the shell in separately and then put a charge in afterwards, and that will be what actually propels the shell. And in fact, actually, that's what they do today. Well, that tank was killed before his shell arrived, so there's not much you can do about that. Now he's aiming at this corner of the battlefield, guessing that there's somebody in that corner. And 2 shells hit the same spot, so looks like other people were anticipating that the enemy was there. That LT-432 we saw earlier in the game, well, he's appeared again, and he's a lot further north than he was the last time, but he just got stunned by one of the Arties. And ProvoBob's going to be firing at him in a sec. Oh, he fired thinking he was going to go back, and he did, but not enough to actually get affected by the shell other than stun. But that didn't stop him killing the standard B. Yeah, those little light tanks, they are very deadly. But in this case, he's been sent back to the garage. There's still 7 enemies out there, but we're winning by 3 at the moment, so it is in our favour. We've got more guns online than they have. 10 on our side still. Now he's looking down in this corner of the map because enemy Arty tends to also go into that little dip. It's actually good protection. Makes good sense because if the enemy comes up either side, they're going to see directly across, and if you're in the dip, it's a lot harder for you to be spotted. Also good protection from the light tanks, the wheelies as well. Well, there's an SU-130PM up on the rise. Direct hit, 384. That should have penetrated that one. The armor on those SU-130PMs is very, very light, and the next shell came in from the Bat Châtillon 155-58 and finished him off. Over here we got two tanks. There's the Death Star that killed the FB-4202, and alongside him is an Object 261 Arty. Rounds out the Death Star. It hits the 261 and damages the Death Star at the same time. It kills the 261. He's out the game. The Death Star's still there, just very badly wounded now, and they've only got 5 left on the enemy team. Got a T-54 circling over on the west side of the map. Only our AMX AC-48 over that side to actually look, and we are now capping which is going to draw the enemy back. They've got an Arty in sight, and our turret is turning to face him, but here it comes. Now we're dialing in. Unfortunately, we just lost the guy who was capping. Big hit though on the M53, M55. Yes, I'm afraid it was the Death Star who actually killed the M46 Patton, and he did so right from the edge of the map. But I don't think that Death Star is going to last very much longer, because he is now facing 2 enemy tanks at the same time. Okay, ProvoBob fires some round in, anticipating that the M53, M55 went up against the rock. Over on here, we've got that T-54s moving up on the AC-48, who's come around the corner to try and spot him, and there he is. Now we're almost loaded. Just got to get this aim right. He fires snap. No, it goes long. He probably could have waited actually and let the thing dial in fully before he shot. The ideal circumstances in this is to actually aim for the target when they're facing another enemy off a ridgeline. They're going to stay as close as they can to the point at which they're safe from being hit whilst on the ridgeline, but so they can pull forward just enough to get a shot in and then pull back to safety again. And when they're so motionless like that, it makes it much easier to get the kill. Now the Death Star was killed, but the M53, M55 is still around somewhere, and he should be just on the opposite side of that ridgeline. The Gorilla and the Wizzy 120. Oh no, they found an Emil 2 instead, and that's the last enemy heavy. ProvoBob fires a round in right across the battlefield. 3.5 second flight time for the shell. It had a long way to travel. People sometimes don't appreciate how far the shells have to fly for an Arty. They do fly a long distance, and if you look on a battlefield sometimes, you can see Arty shells arcing through the sky at high speed on their way to their destination. He fires another round at the Emil. They found the M53. Direct hit on the Emil 2. The M53 is killed by the Gorilla, and that means that there's only the Emil and another M53, M55, and he's been spotted on the west side by the AC-48 and killed by him. Which means now the Emil's all on his own, and he's trying to attack the AC-48, but there you go. The Wizzy 120 finishes him off, and that's the end of the game. So let's have a look and see how well Bob did in this one. He did get a lot of damage, but we'll have to see if he managed to get 2,255 hit points or damage, or if it was higher. Well, it was a third-class tanker in this game. He also managed to get a Bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In this one he got 13, and he got a Confederate medal as well for hitting more of the enemy than anyone else on his team. And his win rate from the battle was 3,563, which is Super Unicum standard. We look at the team score, we can see, yes, he did get more damage than was actually showing. 2,500 was showing. He's actually ended up with 2,718, but he was beaten to the top spot by the Bat Châtillon 155.58. That guy earned 3,119 hit points of damage in that game, slightly more. And the next high scorer after ProvoBob was the E100, who managed to get 2,550, and he picked up a Spartan and a Steel Wall as well. When it came to kills, it was the AMX AC-48 who got the highest. He got 3 kills, 2 kills to ProvoBob, 2 kills to the TL1 LPC, and then the rest of the enemy only had 1 kill, or rather apart from the Death Star and the 261 on the enemy team. And when it came to base XP, it was actually the TL1 LPC got 889, then the AC-48 got 854, followed by the Bat Châtillon 155.58 who got 804. ProvoBob got 779, which puts him in 6th place, but it was still a good game for him. He fired 19 rounds, got 7 direct hits, no penetration, but 15 splash. Damage of 2,718 hit points, all of it at more than 300 meters. He damaged 11 of the enemy, killed 2, so that's a big difference of 9 for him to get the Confederate. And 290 hit points of damage assistance, plus 857 hit points of stun assist off 13 stuns. On a premium count, he earned 38,847 credits, got 100,000 credits for completing the mission and events, so his total 138,847. and after a resupply of ammunition, he took away 117,567 credits. He received 1,168 XP, got ×2 for the first victory, took away 2,337 experience points altogether. So a pretty good game by ProvoBob in his 155.55. It's not the favourite Arty of many people, mainly because it's actually, they feel it's a bit, it's not as good as the other tier 9 Arty, let's put it bluntly. The GW Tiger's good, the 212A is very good because it's enclosed, it uses vents. And of course, let's not forget that the FV3805 also is enclosed and that can use vents. But the best Arty of all at tier 9 is the M53, M55 by a long chalk. That Arty is so good because of the turret actually. It means a wide arc of fire, and it also can use vents, which means that it can generate much faster reload time and a faster dialing in time, so long as you have a Brothers in Arms crew and vents to keep them pumped up with extra skill. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like and do subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.